That's what I gotta do when I get home.
It's only if it was unwanted.
I hope I said that.
Every meeting I get
Yeah.
to make sure. I said I'm gonna be over in the book.
I was just gonna say, it looks familiar.
Yeah, I don't want to. That was the very last 3, right?
Yes.
All right, we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Sorry we're a little bit late. We had an executive session to discuss personnel issues and property. So with that, I'd like to recognize any resident or taxpayer in this area, school district wishing to address the board about title programming or any other matter concern or interest properly raised in public session. Mr. Shaw, how are you, sir?
I'm well, and you well tonight?
Good.
A couple of concerns I have. Oh, Timothy Shaw, by the way. Bullying, still going on, and really, I cannot ask you guys, what are we doing? And when I ask you that, I mean that from the bottom of my heart, that we have to do something. I'm not hearing a lot of things being done, and if I'm part of it where my child is being bullied, I should hear something that we're doing. I know Mr. Hendrick and Mr. Holly have gotten back to me about some things, but it's the same kids doing it to other kids. Obviously, something's not working. So please, I keep asking, and I'm going to keep asking until we get to the bottom of this, okay? Last meeting, we said something about the buildings and grounds and all that, our guesstimate on our repairs and all that, our facilities. Are we having a meeting about that at all?
Yeah, if you want to continue, I'll look up for the next building and grounds meeting.
Because I haven't seen it on any of the agendas, so I just was curious.
I'll search the calendar and,
Thank
Well,
you.
there was a special meeting, Mr. Shaw.
Pardon?
There was a special meeting at the end of February, a
Right,
special
but-
board meeting.
Mrs. Dr. D said at the last meeting that we were gonna talk about it, and
Oh, through
and
buildings.
I know you guys presented it, but I mean after.
I gotcha.
Yeah. So the
Thank
Building
you.
and Grounds Committee meets on a regular basis. I don't have the next one here, so I'll find that out and email it out.
Thank you very kind.
Okay?
Classroom decorum. I know when the principals go in the classrooms. Oh.
I found it.
I was gonna say, put your hand up, so I didn't want to
Yep,
interrupt.
May
you.
9th, 7:30.
May 9th, thank you so kindly.
You're welcome.
7:30.
In the conference room downstairs.
Oh, okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
When the principals go in the classrooms, the kids behave, a surprise, surprise. What can we do when the principals aren't in the classroom? Has that ever been talked about, discussed anywhere, any place? Because when they're not in the classroom, things happen. And I'm sure some of you are aware, it's not my place to inform you about it, but I'm sure you'll hear about it. But I know one particular classroom, it happens every day. So please, please, please see what you can do about that. Did we hire any more teachers since the
Yes,
last meeting?
as a part of my report, I will have an update on the personnel.
Okay. The musical, did anybody get a chance to attend it? Awesome, great. I heard it was wonderful. I was going Saturday night and I got called away, so I heard they did a great job. Sports, I know sports is popped around this place a lot, but education is supposed to be first and foremost. And without education, we wouldn't have sports. So can we concentrate a little bit more on the educational piece and a little bit less on sports? I know some people won't be happy about that, but unfortunately, it's a realistic thing that sports is not the almighty here in any school district. So please think about that. And then the only last thing is, I know a few months ago, I was able to ask for an executive with this board. Would that be a possibility tonight for maybe 7 minutes?
Is everybody okay with that? I'm okay with
And if you
that.
can't, I'll talk to whoever can be here, but if
Because it's not really an exec session, but if you have a question you want, it's not really an exec session, but if you have a question you want to address the board in private.
Well, I think whatever it was a couple months ago, I had to ask first, and I didn't know if I had to do it at the meeting or email you, so.
Yeah, just reach out to me. I should, yes, you can just reach out to me.
Okay, well, can we do one tonight? I promise you 7 minutes. All
Yeah, if everybody has.
right, thank you very kindly, that's all I have.
Anyone else?
Hi, Sam Shaw, CRPA. A couple other questions and comments. Mr. Hendrick kindly informed me that National Honor Society will have an induction ceremony this year, starting, I think he thought April 21st-ish is where he thought that was going to end up. My only concern kind of related to that, not exactly the same, is that we have an FBLA advisor that's going to be retiring this year. The senior class advisor, I think, is Naomi Abbey, is just for this year, and I'm not sure if those positions are getting reposted, but I know both of those are pretty in-depth, and I think the sooner you get them posted, and if there's a handoff possibility, especially senior class advisor, I know they do a lot of activities throughout the year, that would be hard to pick up mid-year or something like that, so I would hope that we were working on that. The buildings, plan for facilities, I also sort of wanted to talk about that, but is it the building meeting where that will be kind of discussed a little bit more in depth? I kind of wanted to know if we were thinking about raising taxes, or if we're going to try to get bonds, or if we had any idea where we're going to come up with some money for those facility issues that we have.
So the next step is to be at the building and grounds meeting, and that was May
That's the
9th.
May
so
9th meeting.
yes.
Okay. Just a little concern, there's some issues that were identified. I think that I'm not sure if we have a really good mitigation plan around it, especially maybe the swimming pool where it looks like there's no dehumidification and there's some roof issues. So, you know, from an insurance perspective, I'm sure that's a little concerning for us and what we're doing with that going forward. The other thing, as a taxpayer, I would kind of like to see from this meeting, and perhaps it's my own ignorance on the matter, but I think we do a lot of kind of fluff in this meeting to some extent. Like there's some things that maybe are important to some people, maybe not important to everybody, but I would like to see a little bit more of like outcomes. Like Mr. Shaw was saying, we're here for education. So just kind of wondering if there's some things that we can kind of put into place, or if we can do something like we hired a grant position. So could we get, how many grants did we apply for? How many did we get? If we could get some reports on that occasionally, or, you know, if we're adding electives or things for the curriculum, how do we compare to other same size schools across Pennsylvania? Like just kind of an idea of where we are from an education perspective. I think we have a lot of good students, a lot of good teachers, and I'd like to be able to see where we are and recognize those things. I think we've had, you know, I think sports tends to be a kind of a big issue because we've had lower interest and lower numbers in some of those things. But I think to echo you, the play and the band, I think have had good numbers and have a lot of kids going that way. And like I said, the academics are, I think, things that we should be working strongly on as well. But I think we don't always hear those things. We kind of focus a little bit more because that gets a little bit more people, their interest and their passions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shaw. Anyone else? Okay. So for our consent agenda, I'd like to consent on section 1, the minutes. 2, operations, instruction, the volunteer and field trip, athletics, recommendation of the board for co-ops, finance, the audit, the contract, the personnel, we have a syndication and an employment. That's it for the consent agenda.
Oh, that's the question, does anybody want anything pulled out of the consent agenda separately?
Well, I think we got that figured out, Mr. Snell. Thank you. I have a motion.
Motion.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, so section 3, operations, finance. Mr. Hickey?
Make a motion to recommend the bills for payment listed in Exhibit B be ratified and approved as presented. Motion.
I have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any discussion? Can I get a roll call, please?
Sure. We'll begin with Mrs. Agnew.
Yes, except I abstain on number 1.
Ms. Olson? Yes. Mr. Hickey?
Yes.
Mrs. Kmetz?
Yes.
Ms. Riley?
Yes.
Mr. Shaw?
Yes.
Mr. Skirpa?
Yes.
Mr. Petrini?
Yes. Thank you very much. So upcoming meetings, we got a finance committee on April 11th, 2022 at 5:30 in the admin conference room. We have a community relations committee on April 13th at 5:30 in the admin's conference room. So with that, reports, Mrs. Morel.
Our enrollment is 494, with 9 of those being solo. We've had a couple students return to the classroom. That's the reason for the change in our numbers. Our backpack program, we're still serving 28 people. 6 students are still part of the check-in, check-out program. We've had 40 SAP referrals this school year, and like I said, 9 students are in SOLA. Some dates for your calendars for upcoming activities. We'll start with probably one of the important ones. For some days that are coming is PSSA testing, April 25th through May 6th. The first 3 days of April will be ELA testing, followed by 2 days of makeup. May 6 and 7 are math, followed by 8 and 9 for science in 4th grade only. The tested grades at Snyder will be grades 3, 4, 5, and 6. June 3rd, tentatively, is our 6th grade promotion exercise. At this time, due to the status of COVID, things seem to have settled down a little bit, so we plan to have one activity for our promotion ceremony at 9 o'clock. The situation may change, so we'll keep everybody updated. I will send out an official invitation in the middle of May. At this time, Mr. Howie and I looked at numbers after school today. We don't think that tickets will be necessary. But we will continue to gauge that as we move forward. I'll have more details to come, and there'll also be a transition activity for parents and students after that promotion ceremony. Sorry, Mr. Hendrick, you're the one with graduation that day. We anticipate that the transition activity should take no more than an hour, so please plan that into your schedule to help your students transition to the high school. We're also very excited to announce that we're going to have hopefully a kinder camp this year for our incoming kindergarten students. It will be 3 days in July. However, I guess you could say there is a ticket that's needed to get in. It won't cost anything, but your ticket is you must have every piece of registration material into Mrs. Shedden. That's your birth certificate, your shot card, your proof of residency, every piece of paper that was provided to you to be filled out and returned needs to be taken care of before that kinder camp activity. If you have not registered for kindergarten, please make sure that you call Mrs. Shedden, call my office. We can make that happen for you so your little one, who has to be 5 before September 1st, can join that activity. So that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Morel.
You're welcome.
Mr. Hendrick.
FBLA update, they leave on Sunday. The kids will be attending numerous events and presentations throughout the conference, including opening and closing ceremonies. Tuesday night, we'll find out if anyone qualified for nationals in Chicago, which are at the end of June. 11 students are going to compete. 2 will be doing a presentation in front of judges on Monday afternoon. And we do have with Mrs. Cole, I know, obviously she's retiring and we're going to miss her, but we do have Ms. Koopman, who is also a kind of a co-advisor, so we do have a plan there to hand that off a little bit. As Mr. Shaw alluded to, Mrs. Vaughn and the cast and crew did a fabulous job of this year's musical, The Wizard of Oz. We're fairly certain that it generated the highest box office in our musical history, edging out Beauty and the Beast from a few years ago. Lots of compliments for everyone's hard work. One woman told Mrs. Cole at the door that she'd seen 4 high school musicals this weekend and said ours was the best that she and her family saw. So just great job to the cast and crews, can't say enough. Even though they didn't have a show on Sunday this year, they were still exhausted today. Thank you to the board for hiring Mr. Waldenberger as our new industrial arts teacher tonight. With his hire and through some work on the scheduling, we're going to be able to add some electives for next year. Communication will go out to families this week, and students, even though they've gone through some of the requests for electives, we're still going to allow them to make some more selections. And to that, we'll be putting in Spanish 1, Foundations of Technology and Engineering, Engineering for All, Community Service, and 2 semester classes, Invention and Innovation, and opposite that will be Technological Systems. Those are 2 semester courses that will be back to back. So we're pretty excited about those offerings and having Mr. Waldenberg on board. He will come to a board meeting. Obviously, Millersville's a bit of a hike to come up on a Monday night to see all of you. And this Saturday, our baseball team will take on Athens. Not that untypical or atypical, but the game will be played at PNC Park Field. I don't know, Field or Park, one of the two. In Music, PA, we're holding signups for a fan bus for the game. Game will be played at 1:30 on Saturday. And that is it for me for tonight.
Where is that sign up, Mr. Hendrick?
With Mrs. Tracy.
Mrs. Tracy, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hendrick. Mr. Cole, give me an NTCC report.
He did not, I didn't receive anything from him on either of those.
I have nothing from PSBA?
No.
All right. Satterley Creek, Mrs. Agnew.
Not too much happening.
Okay. So that they can hear, I just,
Okay.
thank you.
So not too much is happening now. They're just getting ready for spring cleanups up there for the trails. They're pretty wet right now. It sounds like this week it could be even wetter, but otherwise that's about all right now.
Anything from Blast?
No, we're before my meeting, so nothing this time.
Next time.
I'll put it on, actually,
Same night as my IU meeting, so I won't have.
no, 18th will be the 18th, Monday. No, that's right, it's 20th, because we're off for spring break,
That's what
that's
I
right,
thought.
so it's
So that's
Wednesday.
That's the night of my
Thank you.
meeting, so I won't.
Okay.
Report
May. We'll
After
make it
that,
May.
yes, after that I will. That's all.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I didn't get to go to the play, but my children did and said it was wonderful, so they had a good time. And they would agree with that lady that it was one of the best plays they've seen in a really long time. So and it was sold out show, right?
Friday night.
Friday.
They add more tickets.
more tickets. Which is phenomenal.
I believe Saturday was too. It's the first show Saturday.
First, the
First show.
matinee.
Matinee was, yeah.
So awesome, those kiddos, great job for all of them. That's all.
That's all you have? All right. So Mrs. Morrell already shared about kinder camp, and Mr. Hendrick took care of the high school opportunities. So I wanted to follow up with the school board and community about the positions that we have. So right now, we have a math position open at the high school level, and we have had one interview, and we bring people back for a second interview to actually teach a lesson in the classroom setting, and so that is scheduled. That's upcoming. The English position at the high school level has been filled. Mr. John Palumbo was board approved at the last board meeting, so he'll be starting with us at the start of the new year. And next year, we're looking to also have ACE English available for our students. That was not available this year due to qualifications and needs that we had to, but we'll be able to add ACE back to the English 12. The CSN, the Certified School Nurse position has been filled, and our new CSN will be starting on April 25th. And starting and joining our current staff. Our Industrial Arts Tech Ed, as Mr. Hendrick just said, Mr. Waldenberger was approved this evening. In the meantime, between now and then, we are in accordance with the contract, and I worked with Mr. Trump, our president of the union, which was very kind. Thank you for us to be able to contract with Bradford County Conservation District and bring somebody in. Dan Rhodes will be coming in as an educational specialist to work with the STEM kiddos from the high school level from now until Mr. Waldenberger gets here and through the end of the school year with them, so we're able to contract with them. So thank you very much. We worked through that process. The business and tech position, we received one applicant interviewed, talked about a second interview, and received a second application, and we're bringing that individual in. So we're in first round interviews for the business tech position of Mrs. Cole's position. We have 3 elementary positions, 2 in 5th grade and 1 in 6th grade. We have applications, or I'm sorry, we have interviews set for tomorrow evening from 4 o'clock on, as well as Wednesday evening for first round, and then we'll go to second round, bringing those individuals back that we select to teach with our students and see them in the classroom interacting with our children. Music position was also filled, already board approved at the last board meeting. Cameron King will be our new music teacher when he is released and able to come to Sayre. I think that's all of them. Did I miss any? Mrs. Morel? Mr. Handrick? Okay.
I don't believe so.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Beluzio. With that, does anybody else have anything?
I have a couple things, Mr. Petrini, please. I would echo about the play, and I know Mr. Howie was in attendance, and Mr. Claypool was there, and his son did a fine job from what I'm told, so thank you for that. I don't know if this question is directed at Dr. Jill or Mr. Hickey, but our buildings and grounds person is Mr. Bunker. I never see him at meetings. We just had a facilities assessment for our school district. I haven't seen the guy in 2 years at a school board meeting. Is he supposed to come to our meetings?
I will ask him to start attending.
Has he previously
When we
attended?
ask him to, he does.
Has he previously, as a part of SOP, attended?
Not SOP, no. If we ask him to, if something's going on.
I would think in light of our facilities assessment, which isn't very good, that we would see him or get some input about what's going on with our buildings.
That's what the committee will discuss.
Okay, but
But he's not a board member, so he wouldn't be here to discuss that. And the committee, yes, we are
he can
discussing.
come to our meetings and give us an update, can't he?
I could give you an update if we haven't had a meeting we're having on May 9th.
When's the last time you got an update from him?
I don't ask him for one.
But he's not giving you any, though, on his own,
About what?
about the state of the facilities of our school district.
No, because we haven't asked him to.
Okay,
That facility study is a huge thing. It's not one page.
I realize
We're
that.
trying to digest it. We are going over it. We do it in the committee.
I would also like to take exception in what you said at the last meeting. You suggested that Felicia, myself, and Donnie had an improper meeting with Athens about athletics, and I take exception to that. You were invited to it, you chose not to go, and you said in this audience 2 weeks ago that you suggested that we did something improper, we didn't, and I take exception to that.
Well, you can do that.
And you said you've had parents come to you about co-ops, right? Did you say that 2 weeks ago?
To me? No.
Yeah, you said about parents talking to you about co-ops, right?
No, I haven't.
I've not had one parent come to me saying anything against co-ops or one taxpayer. But I do take exception to what you said last meeting.
Well,
You
apparently
suggested that
misunderstood.
Felicia and I and Donnie did something improper. You were invited
I
to
did
a
not
meeting
say
and you
that.
know about it. And we didn't do anything improper.
It never was said.
You
Now-
suggested it.
Oh, so now I suggest.
Yeah, there was
Here's exactly
insinuation.
what I said. It
You
didn't come from the
insinuated that we did
administration.
something
All right.
improper.
No, I did not.
Mr. Shaw.
It never happened.
Mr. Hickey.
Never.
Anyway, I'm
It
done.
was at a public meeting, so people know. I mean,
You know, well, it's recorded, so,
All right,
see.
thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else?
I did have one thing I forgot, if I may. I know I asked about the grounds for the baseball, softball, and track and field. When did we work on the fields?
I'm going to turn to the athletic director, Mr. Claypool, to respond. He works closely with Mr. Bunker and the coaches and the different, for those fields to be ready and such?
Basically, every dry day that's available, we work on the fields. Why?
Couple weeks before, when it was perfect, we weren't out there, right? I'm just saying.
When it
we
was
can't-
frozen?
Huh?
When it was frozen?
Well, other schools work on their fields all those days. I'm just saying.
We had home
this is
games
just-
today. Both sets of officials at the game remarked at how good the condition was of the fields at both places.
Okay, well, I'm just telling you, I was there.
So I'm
for
just telling you what they said.
A scrimmage in the Snyder Field is atrocious. I umpired Saturday. It is not.
Well, there was
worthy.
water all over the field on Saturday at the varsity softball field had water in 5 or 6 spots.
Right, so that's what
I
I'm
spent
getting at.
several hours down there raking it, trying to get it in condition so we could play the varsity game on Monday.
That's what I'm getting at, mister. It's not your fault, but as I asked Dr. Jill, how many months ago? At least a year and a half and continual. It's something you have to work on
Oh, we talk
all the
about
time, not just,
We talk about the fields regularly. I'm in communication with the maintenance folks, and every time they could get on the field, they could get on the field. But the field was frozen for a good period of time. The field was wet. The field, I mean, you can't get on it. Most of the other fields, I'm assuming, in the area aren't next to a river and a bowl on a dump.
well.
Maybe they are. I don't know. I
But
don't know
again,
the
if
other
we put
fields.
dirt on it accordingly, it wouldn't be.
You can't put dirt on it
But
until it
anyhow.
dries out, but okay.
And then the other thing is, Mr. Hickey alluded to it, I think was the previous athletic committee meeting, about, what did you tell me, it's in the contract that the maintenance crew can't work on Saturdays, is that what you said?
No,
What did you say?
you'd have to pay them extra. It's in the right, that's in the contract.
Right, well, that's what I'm getting at.
Overtime.
So, why would we, as a school district, not knowing that we play athletics in April and May, and possibly the last Saturday in April, or March, have it in their contract where one of them has to help work on the fields, or two, like they do for football and everything else? Why would we not do that? And he said it's a contract thing, that's what you told me, so I was just.
Well, it's true, yeah, we pay more if they
So-
work outside their hours, they get overtime.
Right, so why wouldn't we include that in their working hours somehow, some way? Like, okay, instead of working Tuesday afternoon, you have to work Saturday morning. I'm just asking. I'm not saying I have the answer, but I'm asking a question because I think it needs to be addressed. If that makes sense to you. Thank you.
Move for adjournment.
I got a motion for adjournment. I have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.